Talking about South Sudan now, where aid workers are warning of a humanitarian crisis following heavy rains and rising floodwaters destroying homes and livestock. The country declared a national emergency last week after floods forced 420,000 people from their homes. The nation is already reeling from a civil war that killed around 400,000 people and forced nearly a third of the population to flee. Residents of the eastern town of Pibor say they fear catching diseases and are appealing to the government for aid. They are living surrounded by water full of waste and dead animals, and their food stocks have been wiped out.
We are trying to find different places, but the water apparently is still increasing in this area. Now we are at the airstrip, which we are losing about 40 centimeters per day every day, where the water is increasing. There is a very high humanitarian need of an intervention, especially with shelter material, with NFI kits, with material that can be given to the population, because people have lost everything. They lost their homes. So the intervention is very needed in this sector.
Meanwhile, UN officials and various South Sudanese stakeholders have found no child soldiers or abducted women at a military cantonment site located in the southwest of the country's western equatorial area. As comes out of the monitoring and verification of allegations that children and women are associated with armed conflict within the main opposition group, the SPLM-AIO forces at the Sioux cantonment site located in the northern part of Yambio town.
The message across which we are passing across is, please, let's protect the children. It is part of a UNMISS mandate, which is of protection of children and protection of the civilian. And not only the children, boys, also women, as we are here for that same mission.
We have been trying by all the team to see if we can get the group, the type of group we are looking for, but we can't get one. We can't get a child here, or even a woman who had been abducted. The women we got here are wives of the forces here, and even the children we got here are children of the army here. This after making a lot of consultation with different groups.
In neighboring Sudan, the Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok says his government is working towards bringing peace to war-torn Darfur as he met hundreds of victims of the 2003 conflict that left hundreds of thousands dead and millions displaced. Mr. Hamdok's one-day visit is his first of the devastated region as Prime Minister. He met war victims in the town of Al-Fashir, the capital of North Darfur state, that houses several sprawling camps where tens of thousands of displaced people have been living for years.
People in Darfur were dismissive of their new Prime Minister's promise of a brighter new future as Abdallah Hamdok visited the region. The Prime Minister visited Darfur amid plans to settle the near 17-year-old conflict in the West Sudanese region and repair the damage done by ousted President Omar al-Bashir. But those displaced have heard all the promises before and long given up hope of returning to the village they were forced to flee at the start of the fighting. Violence may have subsided since the days when Bashir mobilized mostly Arab militia to crush an uprising by mostly non-Arab rebels, unleashing a wave of killings and mass displacement. But it is still too dangerous for families to go back and for things to return to how they were. Some families living in a camp outside El Fasher lost their cattle when their farms were seized in the first fighting, so whole livelihoods have gone. Their plight underlines the challenge facing the Prime Minister Hamdok as he and his transitional government try to settle the conflict. He drew a crowd of hundreds as he toured Zamzam camp just outside El Fasher. The soft-spoken civilian greets them with the words, "Freedom, peace and justice," a slogan chanted by the crowds that took to the streets across Sudan in this year in mass rallies that eventually ousted former President al-Bashir. Hamdok tells the crowd they will work together and meet their demands. He stays talking for most of the day, but offers little in terms of concrete new proposals. Minister Hamdok took office in August under a 3-year power-sharing deal with the military. Since then, the transitional government has asked the United Nations and the African Union to keep operating their joint peacekeeping mission in Darfur. Khartoum is also taking part in peace talks with rebels from Darfur and other borderlands.
The United Nations says ongoing violence in Cameroon's northwest and southwest has created a fast-growing humanitarian emergency, now affecting some 1.9 million people. In Geneva, UN Children's Fund spokesperson Marisi Mercado explains that almost 1 million children are affected in the West African nation, which until a few years ago was amongst the most settled and peaceful in the region. Insecurity and, to a lesser degree, extremely poor access have left around 65% of both regions out of bounds to aid workers who have faced increasing attacks and risk being taken hostage, as do civilians.
Around 1.9 million people, about half of whom are children, are estimated to be in need, which is an increase of 80% compared to 2018 and an almost 15-fold increase since 2017. What began as a political crisis in the northwest and southwest regions is now a quickly deteriorating humanitarian emergency. 3 years of violence and instability in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon have left more than 855,000 children out of school. A very real fear of violence also keeps parents from sending their children to school and teachers and staff from reporting to work.
When armed groups like these kidnap students on the way to school, that's absolutely horrific and must be condemned.